Hey everybody, it's Belinda Wasser from the Virtual Assistant Connection. Happy Wednesday to everybody. I'm excited to be here. I've been looking forward to this all week. A couple weeks ago, we had a Facebook Live Q&A like this, and it was such a big success that we decided that we're going to do it every week. So here we are with our second one, and this is a time for you to get all your questions answered. So let's just start out. We're gonna start out with some questions that people sent ahead of time, and then we're gonna jump into the chat and see what questions are there as well. So we're gonna broadcast this across all kinds of channels. So it's in on our Facebook page, in the VA Connection, the Virtual Assistant Connection group. We're also broadcasting this in the VIP club for those of you who are in my membership club, the VIP VA Connect, or the VA Connection VIP club. It's a lot of V's and VAs. And then we're also on Periscope and our YouTube channel. So we're trying to make this as accessible as possible for everyone who's interested in learning about a career as a virtual assistant. I've been a VA for 10 years. I love it. I loved having the ability to work from home and to choose who I work with and choose the type of work that I do. And it's really been awesome. So while we're getting started, would everyone just put in the chat where they're watching from? I'd love to see where people are coming from. Right in the comments. Looks like we've got a bunch of people on. Where are you guys coming in from? I'm in Connecticut. I've lived here for 5 years, and before that, I was in Boston for a long time. All right, so it looks like we've got some viewers from Florida, Andrea, New Jersey. Hi, Christina. That's awesome. Cool. I'm near New Jersey. Christina is our newest member of the VIP club, which is awesome. Welcome, Christina. All right, and we've got, me again, in Bosnia. I'm glad you're here. Yeah, so these have been, so like I mentioned, we did these live Q&As. We did one a couple weeks ago, and it was all about is being a virtual assistant for you. And like I said, it was really popular, so we decided that we're going to do it again and get, all your questions answered. So let's dive in. All right. So go ahead and put them in the chat, in the comments. And Elizabeth's here from Virginia Beach, Virginia. Welcome, Virginia. Oh, and I love your picture. That's awesome. We watched, I hadn't seen the Ruth Bader Ginsburg movie yet. And so Greg and I watched it just recently, this last weekend. And what an inspiration. Holy cow. Holy cow. Okay, so let's jump in. Here we go. All right, so the first question that that I got when people were, they were putting their questions in the chat, or not in the chat, in the event beforehand, is a really common question, and it's, where do I get clients? And that's, that's a big deal. So I did a webinar this morning on getting started, and getting clients, and so there was a lot of info in there. There'll be a replay that you guys can click on. I wanted to just mention that, but the where you get clients is not where you think. And it's always surprising the reaction I get when I tell people where to get clients. So I have heard people say they spend a lot of time on Facebook, they get clients there, they get jobs on, on job posting sites. I've heard people say they've got clients on LinkedIn, and even, there was someone who was talking to me yesterday about researching businesses and introducing themselves, which they're all things that might work. It's not the way that I decided to run my business, and because those are things I'm not really comfortable with. Now, that's not to say that I'm not on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm definitely on LinkedIn. I'm definitely on Facebook, and I put my articles there and my newsletters and things that I write. But the way that I was able to grow my virtual assistant business to 6 figures in the second year, and then have that same experience for the next 9 years, is by staying in touch with the people that I already know. So what I did was I developed a system where I keep in touch. I make sure that everyone knows what I'm doing. So the first step in that is to get clear about what your services are and how you talk about it. And so what I say when people ask me what I do is I say, I'm a virtual assistant. I work with solo professionals, people who work on their own, and I help them with all their administrative tasks. So that's really clear and to the point, right? I'm a virtual assistant and I help them with their administrative tasks. Then I say, like updating their websites, email newsletters, and scheduling. Now, for those of you who have been to my website, Rocket Girl Solutions, for my VA business, you know that I have a bajillion different services that I learned over time that I've added to that page of things that I offer. However, what I want to do is leave them with a bite-sized nugget of what I do so they can remember it, understand it, and then tell other people. So that's one of the critical things at first, which might not be intuitive. Then what you want to do is you want to let everybody that you know what you're doing. So an email announcement is a great way to let everybody know what you're doing. And then what I suggest and what I did was I started writing an email newsletter. And I started writing it every couple of weeks and growing my list and really focusing on my list so that I actually don't go looking for clients anymore. And I really never did. What I do is stay in front of people that I know, showcase what I do, make sure that all of my, my website looks great, my newsletter looks great, all of the things that the public sees. And then my clients really find me. So it's a really nice way to run your business, because I'm not always sort of on the hunt, but I am always, I call it sprinkling. I'm sprinkling myself everywhere. So I'll make a list of people who I want to keep in touch with. They're not necessarily prospects, but I'll send them an email, a check-in email is what I call it, that says, hi, Sally, how are you? I wonder what you've been up to. You came across my mind and I thought I would check in. I'm doing X, Y, and Z. Emily's back in school. I'd love to hear from you when you get a chance, and then sign off. My email signature's there. It tells people that I'm in business. My website is there. And if they're curious, they can check it out. But just really popping up everywhere. I do that on LinkedIn. I go look for people that I know on LinkedIn and I might comment on their post. In addition to putting my own information out, I'm also commenting on there. So it's just a way to stay in touch really with the people that I like. And it's been amazing how by doing just that, but consistently, every week, every day, I don't just mark it on, Tuesdays. It's something that I do all the time, how I've been able to grow my list and how I've been able to grow my business. And so it's not effortless, but it doesn't feel really hard. It doesn't feel uncomfortable. So let's look in the comments and see what's going on. Elizabeth, thanks. I'm debating about driving to DC tomorrow. Oh, wow. To pay your respects, but that's a lot to tackle. That's awesome. That is a lot to tackle. Yeah, that is a lot to tackle. But that would be nice. I'd like to hear if you decide to do that, Elizabeth. So she's talking about RBG passing away, and Elizabeth lives in Virginia, so she's thinking about going to pay respects in DC. Okay, Dee Bee, hello. All right, if the client is in the US and I'm in the UK, where should the governing laws on the VA where should the governing laws be on the VA contract? Okay, so I don't specifically know the answer to that question. So let me tell you about how this would be handled though. So this is a little tricky. If you're in two separate, let me even jump back further. This is a really good question. If you have a contract and someone breaches the contract, you have to pursue legal action. So if they're not paying attention to the contract and you want to enforce it, you're going to have to hire an attorney, go after them. I think you understand what I'm saying. So doing that internationally would be a really big deal. And I don't even know how you would do that, but that's something you would check with an attorney on. And if someone's doing your contracts for you, which I highly recommend, not just pulling something down from the internet, but having someone that knows what they're doing, to provide you with a contract, I would ask them that. But I think the first question is, how would you go about enforcing that if they didn't pay? So how I do my arrangement with my clients, because I don't have clients in the UK, but I have a couple in Switzerland, and I actually have had a client in London before in the UK, is that people prepay for my time in 5 or 10 hour chunks. And then what happens, so I get paid up front, and then I do the work for them, and I let them know every Monday how much time is left. So if the client, so that it's impossible for the client to not pay me, so they can't sort of be in breach of contract. And if I decide the relationship isn't working out and I don't want to work with them anymore, I can either wait till the time has run out, or I can give them a refund in an extreme case, if I decide I don't want to work with them anymore. So I hope that's helpful. That's a big question, and the problem with contracts always is you have to be willing to pursue them, in small claims court, depending on the amount, or with an attorney, and that can get expensive. So you want to balance out your risk against the cost. If wherever, I'm not sure where your clients in the USA and you're in the UK, so it would really, I would imagine it would be in the UK. However, I'm not sure how you would pull your US client into litigation there, and it would have to be some pretty big dollars, I think, before that would be worthwhile. All right, guys, I'm going to go back to some of the questions that people asked beforehand. So go ahead and put some more comments in, please. Oh, here we go. Okay. Do you always recommend getting paid up front? What if the client isn't comfortable with that? So here's the thing. So I always get paid up front. Here's the sequence of what happens. When a client is interested in working with me, we set up a 30-minute time to talk. I have that set up on my website using Acuity. You can use Calendly, Time Trade, whatever you want to use, and they get on my calendar, and then we talk for 30 minutes. And what we're talking about is what kind of work they have. I want to make sure that that I like to do that work, that I know how to do that work. I also want to listen for, do I like them? Are we communicating well together? And the reason I want to do that is because I think of these 30-minute free consultations as like a first date. And we know, if it's been a long time since I've been on a first date, but when I did go on a first date, I cared about what I wore, cared about my hair, I cared about all of the details, because I wanted to represent myself in the best way. And I think that's what happens in these 30-minute free consultations. So if a client is being, they're talking over you, or you don't understand what they're talking about, anything that's sort of a red flag, or you don't like the work, now's the time to decide that. So then if we decide to work together, they prepay 5 or 10 hours of my time. If they're not comfortable with it, then I don't work with them. And that was really scary in the beginning. But so it's interesting. So this one guy, he said to me, what's the big deal about you getting paid up front? And very nicely, I said to him, what is the big deal about me getting paid up front? I don't know what the tone was, but anyway, so I went ahead and I worked with him. He was in Europe, and he lived in the US, but he was saying, oh, I'm overseas, but we all know you can bank anywhere in the world. And he ended up not paying me for $1,200. And the only thing I could do would be to take him to court. And I didn't want to spend my energy on that because, lawyers where I live are, several $100s an hour. And it just, I didn't want to put my energy on it. So I just walked away. And then I reminded myself that I always get paid up front. And there are clients, so they buy my time in 5 or 10 hour chunks. That's how I've set it up. And some people have said, I think I really only need 2 hours. And I say, I'm sorry, I don't actually have a 2 hour package. But if you want to buy 5 hours, we could probably, the time is good for a year. So they get to use it anytime in a year. And what I'll say is, you can use it anytime during that year. And I'm sure there's other things that will come up, that you'll need. And I'd be happy to help you with that. So yes, I do recommend always getting paid up front. The other thing is with my system, I don't have to do invoices, because what happens is they buy my time with credit card and they get a receipt from Stripe So I don't have to do any invoicing. I do track my time, and I send them an email every Monday morning that lets them know how much time they have left. And they don't even ask me for a detail of what I've done, because, they'll send, like, a client sent me their newsletter to put into MailChimp and on their website and all that stuff that I do for them today. And next week, she'll see her hours go down by about an hour and a half or 2 hours, depending on how many edits there are. And she knows that I did the newsletter for her. And so she knows that's where the time went. So that's how it mostly works. So one of my clients, I worked a lot for her, and she had a different system. She wanted me to account for her time, my time for her. So I just gave her my toggle report at the end of the week, and then she could see, what I'd spent my time on. Okay, good, Dee. I'm glad that helped. That's a tricky question. All right, so let's go back over here. And so let me just make sure I answered this. So really, it's by getting clients, it's by staying in touch with people that you know, and just being clear about what you do, and also being clear about your prices, and practicing talking about it, because you want all of this to feel very natural to the potential client. And it's important that you give them a feeling of confidence, because I think one of the big things that we're really providing for our clients is confidence. So for you to be confident in your pricing, for you to be confident in the services that you offer, for you to be confident, in how people get started working with you, really says a lot. And it also reduces stress. One of the reasons that I've created these sort of rules for how my business works is because before I had the debit card system, before people prepaid my time, I felt like, I always felt like there was some negotiation. I would tell them a price, they would say, a flat rate. They would either agree or disagree. If they agree too fast, you think it should have been higher, or they might want to negotiate. And I really don't enjoy that. I want to get to the work and get that done. So what I tried to do was create systems that supported that, without having to, work, without getting paid, because I don't start the work until I get paid. And then also, cutting back on the paperwork, and cutting back on the money conversations, because what I say is, hey, my debit card's empty, can you reload it? And they do. In fact, it's really kind of a self-service system in many ways, because when I send the email to them on Monday mornings, I also send them a link to get on my calendar. So if they want to talk to me, they can. And I send them a link to buy more time. So frequently on Monday and Tuesday, my clients will see, oh, I only have 30 minutes left. I'm going to fill up my debit card. One of my clients calls it Belinda Bucks, which is kind of funny, right? And so that's a way that that I can keep going, get paid up front, and not have to worry about the money piece. All right, let's see. What is the most important step when starting? Step one before anything else. The first step, I can think of the first 4 steps. Let me just think about this for a second. Well, I actually do think the first step, getting a business bank account aside, because that's important. You want to get a business bank account and set yourself up so that your money is separate. Even if even if you don't even have a client yet, you want that first check, that first deposit to go into your business bank account. And the reason you want to do that is because I don't know if you live in the US or somewhere else, but in the US, the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS, there's a possibility that they'll see this as a hobby, especially if you're pushing through expenses and you're operating at a loss. So let's say, you start your business right now and you put up a website and you're paying GoDaddy and you're paying for software or whatever you need, and you're getting ready, but it's either like breaking even, or you only made a little bit of money, or maybe you took a loss for the first quarter. You want the IRS to be really clear that you're in business and that your money is separate and you're not commingling, because you don't want them to think that this is a hobby. Like someone could decide they're, in the knitting sweater business and buy a ton of yarn and, not really sell any sweaters. And, if you're doing that all in your personal bank account, it could leave the wrong impression. So that's the first step. And then I think the second step is to get clear on talking about what you do and start to tell people. And then there are other steps, like websites, but if you get clear on what you're doing, I'm a virtual assistant. I work with small businesses. I work with solo professionals and I help them with their administrative tasks. I do this, this, and this. People will start to know that. They'll start to tell other people and you'll start to get referrals. You can figure everything else after that. Get your first client and figure out how you're going to take notes. Get your first client and figure out, like that you're going to use PayPal at first, or you're going to send them an invoice and then figure out the payment. But all the systems that I have now that are in place, I developed over 10 years, like a lifetime, 10 years. I started out with notebooks. Now I use Evernote. I started out again with notebooks. Now I use Teamwork Project Management. So I didn't need all the things I have now at first. And in fact, it would have completely overwhelmed me. So you really just need, handle the money part, get clear on what you're doing, know that it'll change over time, and just start telling people. All right. Would you say you get more clients through referrals or networking at this point of your career? That's a good question. My favorite clients are referrals. It's hard to tell right now in this red hot minute because of COVID and because I'm not doing in-person networking at this moment. The in-person networking that I do most of the time, if I'm the speaker, that helps me get clients. And don't be scared about that because I have a talk that I give. It's called 7 Biggest Mistakes Small Business Owners Make When Trying to Grow Their Business. If you go to my Rocket Girl website and subscribe to my newsletter, you'll get a copy of it. And so rocketgirlsolutions.com. And I just developed a talk on that. And so when I'm in front of the room, people are more prone to want to work with me, but my better clients are referrals because what happens is, I have a whole bunch of financial planning clients and they're wonderful. They plan, right? They never come at the last minute. They're wonderful. And like they've got their money handled. So they put more time on their debit card when they have 3 hours left instead of 1, because that's just their nature. I think it's been interesting to watch. I think I have about 5 of them. And what happens is, one of them will tell the other and they'll get in my calendar. And then what they'll say is, are you taking new clients? Which is a whole different conversation from what can you do and how can you help me? Because someone said to them, she does my newsletter, she does my website, she does this, and if you're in trouble, she'll help you with that, and you don't have to worry about anything. And I've been working with her for 6 years, and just do it. That's a different conversation. So I like referrals better, and I think they're much better. They're much better clients. But I have found a lot of clients through networking for sure. There's a networking group in my area. And when I first moved here, I went faithfully to it every month because I wanted to make friends, because I didn't know anyone here really. And almost everyone in the group hired me. And it was because I was clear about what I did and my pricing, and I was able to talk about it. And that doesn't come natural to me. It's probably looks like it does now. But even before this Facebook Live, like I had a moment like, okay, I'm going to go do this thing on video, so what I did was I have my earbuds right here and I plug them into my phone and I practice out loud talking about my pricing and what I do and all of that as I exercise. I try to walk 3 or 4 miles a day. And back then, 10 years ago, I was doing it as well. And that's what I would practice, what I was saying. And every time I raised my prices, I practiced the new number because I wanted it to be like, I'm drinking a cup of tea. My pricing is this, this is how you get started with me. I want it to be very matter of fact and regular language. So I'm not saying something like, I free up entrepreneurs to get back to the work that they love. Like that can mean a lot of stuff. That can mean I'm cooking for them or cleaning their house or doing administrative stuff or getting their car serviced. Like you want to be really clear, websites, email newsletters, crystal clear. Okay, these are great questions, you guys. Thank you. So let's move on to the next one. My clients pay within 7 days as I bill by the hour. I've never had retainer since 2004, and my clients pay. Never had any problems. Only one-off jobs. I price up front, but month to month, I bill in arrears. You can totally do that. You can totally do that. There's nothing wrong with that at all. And if that's working, that's great. I just wanted a more hands-off approach. And so that's why I did the debit card. I wasn't really good at letting people know how much time they had. I wasn't great at the whole invoicing thing. I know how to use QuickBooks. I wasn't a bookkeeper. I was an office manager for a long time, and I did the books. It's not what I like to do. For me, it was much more fun to automate the whole thing and figure out how to have them automatically get the invoice and how to set up Stripe and how to set up the calendar software. So it's just really my personality, and that's great. Congratulations that you haven't had any problems. That's amazing. That's really good. So we all have our different ways. Some people have contracts, some people don't. I haven't used contracts because my clients are referrals and I know where they come from. And the other thing is that the risk is pretty low. It's rare that the biggest risk would be someone would buy 10 hours and be unsatisfied in some way. And I have a fairly small amount of their money, and we figure that out. But I've worked with probably over 200 clients over the 10 years. I have 45 clients right now, and it's very rare that there's an issue with that. So congratulations, that's great. Okay, so let's go back. These questions are terrific, you guys. Keep them coming. Let's go back over here. All right. So we just answered that question. Someone just asked it. Let me think what else. So definitely your pricing. A website you don't need a website to start, but it's a really nice thing to have. And the reason that I think it's nice is because I use my website as a showcase, a display case. And what I mean by that is people go to my website and they'll look at it and they'll say, I love your photos. Where did you get those done? And I got them done at the shopping mall. There's a place where I used to live in Boston, and they have it here in Connecticut. And this is not a chain that is nationwide, but to let someone know that my pictures are what they are and they're working and they're doing their job, but that I didn't spend thousands of dollars is really helpful. I can show them, they'll go to my website and they'll see that they're able to schedule time with me, and they'll say, probably 25 people have said, oh, I really like that. Can you do that for me? And I've set it up for them. So I'm always thinking about my business and what my business needs, so that I'm not, what is that expression? The cobbler's child who doesn't have shoes. I really try to take my own business seriously. And that way, I can show examples. And it's kind of, a lot of people in the Facebook group have asked about a portfolio. And my own website has become a portfolio in a lot of ways, because I'm able to show them, oh, this is how I take credit cards and this is how that works. And even the debit card system, I set that up for two people. One person I just explained to, my web guy, he can totally set it up without me telling him how, but he has a debit card system now. And then another client, Scarlett DeBees, she's an image consultant, and she has a debit card system. So once she's had an initial consultation with her clients and she knows what's in their closet, they can buy 2 hours or 5 hours of her time. And she's helped me with my clothes. When I moved from Boston to Connecticut, Connecticut is a lot fancier than Boston. And I just wanted to be a little bit more pulled together. So Scarlett came and she helped me with my closet. And so now when my high school reunion comes around and I don't know what shoes to wear, I take a picture with my phone. She tells me, I put them on, feel like $1 million. And then she subtracts time from the debit card. So even though this is something I built for my VA business, it's something that that I'm able to sort of resell, to my clients because they can see how it works for me. So that's kind of cool. Spilling tea. So what other questions do you guys have? Dee said she saw the debit card system. Sorry, I'm spilling my tea here. And yeah, it is. It's really, it's good. I try to make my courses in a way that not only do you learn the skill, but you learn a skill that you can then offer to other people. So for example, my newsletter course, it teaches you how to do an email newsletter, which will absolutely get you clients. And I teach you how to use MailChimp. I teach you how to set up your newsletter on WordPress, how to publish it as a blog post. I show you how to import your list, the whole thing, soup to nuts. And what happens is you can do it for yourself. And then when your clients see your newsletter, there's a template in there even. And I just learned this. This was cool. So I created the template, and then there's a way to save it in MailChimp with a link. And what you guys would do if you decide to get the course is you click the link, it prompts you to open your MailChimp account, and the template goes right into your account, which is crazy, right? It's really simple. And then you just put in different pictures and different banners and things like that. And the other thing that I did, because I know writing is hard, it's not something I'm really that comfortable with. So I put 12 newsletters in the course that you can use right away and get started. You can use them on social media, you can use them anywhere you want. So that's a cool thing. And while we're here, let me see if I have this up. There's a really affordable way to get that course. It's $497, which I think, given the writing, is that makes it affordable, because it took me hours and hours and hours. But I'm looking for the VIP Club link, and I can't believe that I do not have it here handy. But I don't. So if you go to thevaconnection.com and then you click on programs, you'll see right there, join the club and the VIP club. And right now, if you join the VIP club, you get a ton of different stuff. You get Q&A calls with me, where you send the questions in ahead of time, and I do all the research and I answer your question very specifically, and I'm prepared. There's a vault with webinars that I've done on very specific topics, like LinkedIn. Today I did one for a full hour on getting started as a VA. There's one on buffer. There's just a million topics. And what happens is those are available to the big VA Connection Facebook group for 24 hours, and they go into the vault. All my checklists and cheat sheets and all that kind of stuff is in there. And I just opened a member directory that's rolling out. And often people ask me, do I have a VA that they can hire? In fact, it happened last night. I still need to email this woman back. And those opportunities go into the member directory of the VIP club. So that's a cool benefit too. And it's $35 a month. Oh, look at you. Thank you. You're very sweet. And Elizabeth is a member, and look what she just did for me. Thank you. Oh my gosh, it takes a tribe, it takes a team to keep me on track. So thank you. So check that out. It's I like it. It's a lot of fun. It's the reason I started this whole thing. When I started the VA Connection a few years ago, I thought about it for a long time. And what I wanted to do was, I thought of it like this, and I am a hand talker, and you can't tell because my hands are usually off the screen, but I wanted to create a container. I thought of it like this, and I wanted to take all the systems and the processes and the things that I figured out, and I wanted to be able to pour them in there. And I wanted to be able to interact with people who wanted to be VAs, because I had the interesting journey of being fascinated by how businesses work and building my own business. So I always feel like I'm looking at it from both sides, from the client point of view and also from my point of view. And then, second year in, I crossed six figures. So I made, over $100,000. And every year it ranges from between, like 102, and one year I made $146,000. And that was actually the year that I moved to Connecticut, and I didn't know anybody. I knew Greg and Emily and his kids, but I wanted to make friends. So I did the thing that I was talking about, sprinkling, in a very robust way. I sprinkled my brains out, and I got to know a lot of people. And that was the year that I made so much money, because I was networking. That's why I was kind of hesitating when the question came up, where do I get more referral, more business, networking, or referrals? Well, the year that I pulled out all the stops. So what I was doing was I was meeting for coffee in person with anybody who wanted to meet me. And this is what I mean. So I had tea with someone and they said, you need to meet Darlene. And I said, great, can you introduce me? And then Darlene would email me and I would follow up with her and get on her calendar, and then I would show up. And inevitably she would say, who else can I connect you with? And I just did that. And it almost killed me a little bit. I was doing a lot of networking, but at some point you get to bring in services, like you can afford to have dinner out more, or, the cleaning lady can come because you have enough disposable income, to handle that. Anyway, it was a great year, and I met a ton of people that year. So, all right, let's think what else. So it looks like there's still a few people here. See if you guys have any more questions. So I've told you about VIP. People also ask me about training. That's a big question. They want to know what skills they need to have to start. And, there's a couple ways to get started with that. One of them is if you go to my Rocket Girl Solutions website, rocketgirlsolutions.com, and click on services, there's a link, not a link, a list of all the services that I offer. So you can use that as a way to get started, thinking about all the different things you might want to do. In the beginning, I knew Constant Contact. I knew Microsoft Office pretty well. And I knew a little HTML, and I was able to, piece it together. I started doing newsletters. That's how I started, because it's recurring revenue. Like this week, just in the next 2 days, I have 5 newsletters that people are waiting for me to put into MailChimp or Constant Contact and send them a test. In fact, I'm seeing emails are coming in right now. The tests are coming back with the changes. And that is completely pandemic proof, because people want to do what I'm talking about. They want to stay in touch with the people they know in order to, get work the way that I do it. And so that's how they do it with email newsletters. So here we've got, hello, Jessica. Hi. Hi. Have I ever accepted work that you haven't had experience doing? Yes. Yes, definitely. And that's how I got the experience. So let me think about an example. Just show you guys my new mug I got, the VA connection on it, for RT. So there's a couple different ways that I do that. One is if, for example, let's say back when I only knew Constant Contact and I had a new client, Sarah, who's I've been working with now for, I don't know, like 5 or 6 years. I didn't know MailChimp. And she said, I want you to do my newsletter. You do my sister's. I use MailChimp. And I kind of choked a little bit because I didn't know MailChimp. I choked quietly into myself. And I thought, you know what? I want to learn MailChimp. I'm going to invest in this. And so I did it. Now, the way that it works in the case like this is I say to myself, okay, so I said yes. So I'm going to spend, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, not 20 hours, but 20, 30 minutes, learning what I need to get her newsletter in. So that means I need to know how to put the subject line in. I need to make sure her contacts are in there if they're not already. I need to know how the template works, which isn't, it's like, they're all like drag things around, it's not hard. And she probably already had a template, and I asked her if I could improve it for her. So she said, great. So I spent the time, I did the mapping in my head, like audiences in MailChimp equals lists. Lists and audience are different, and figure that out. Send myself a test, just understand how the program works. And I've done the same thing with Aweber, Infusionsoft, what is that one called? I can't think of what it's called, but whatever the system is, if I want an active campaign, they're all kind of the same. So you can move quickly through it. And once you do it once, now I actually know more about MailChimp than Constant Contact, and I like it better. So that's the way that works, number one. Now there's a different way something can work. A client, Robin, who's a nutritionist, came to me and she said, I want to move my practice into this software called Get Healthy. And what this did was this software, her patients, She helps them with their eating. So they take pictures of what they eat and they send it to her database. We were setting it up with her credit card processing so they could pay her. I think there was a scheduling component. That is a very specific, kind of obscure software that there's no way I would know how to use that. However, when she said to me, can you help me with that? I said yes, because I know how to set up Stripe and it's going to be kind of the same thing. You know, the scheduling, I know how to set up Acuity and I know how to do Calendly and time trade, which I learned over time. First, I learned time trade, and then someone said to a client, and she said, can you do Calendly? I'm like, yep, because it's all the same stuff, you guys. It's just like, it's just like, how do the reminders work? Can you put it on the website? What else? You know, do you connect it to the calendar? Which calendar? You know, it just starts to be all the same stuff after a while. So with the case of Robin, since I didn't know the application, I said, I've never specifically worked with that. I have worked with other similar, you know, applications, and I'm pretty sure I can figure it out. You know, would you like me to do that? And she said, yes. Now, because I did that, when Ellen, my client, who's she owns a fitness studio and she trains people over, 50 and 60-year-olds individually in her studio. She needed a system, and believe it or not, there's like this, you don't take pictures of your food, but there's the same system by a completely different company, and it's called PT Minder. And so when she said to me, I would like this system, I said, great. I'm sure it's really similar to the one I did for Robin, and I just get going. So I don't take any time to learn it on my own because it's very specific to them, but I do get smart about how I learn it. So what I'll start with, and I tell the client, I'll say, I'm going to get in touch with the sales department and I'm going to have them give me a 30-minute demo. Okay, great. Because now in 30 minutes, and I come with questions for the demo. So I'm grilling this guy, like, how does this work? How does that work? How does this connect? So this isn't some fluffy sales thing. It's like I'm talking to him, getting my questions answered. I use the support desk a lot. So I wouldn't waste a lot of time if I can't figure out how to connect something. I'll just send a ticket, go off and do something else, and then come back and know that I'm going to, the answer will be there within 24 hours and I can move forward. So that's how I do it. And that's how I've grown my services list over time. Someone came to me and said, can you set up a quiz? This is the software I want to use. Like, you bet. And I don't qualify it unless it's a big project, like with Ellen and Robin, that it took a few months to do this. And there were a lot of pieces. So I said, I'm going to need, some training, blah, blah, blah. This is an unusual system. But with something like a quiz, I was like, I could figure that out, and so maybe I'll spend 15 minutes figuring it out and then I start billing the client. So that was a long answer, but I hope that, that made sense to you. All right. So Dee, thanks for these great questions, Dee. How do you tell your clients that you're raising your prices? How many months prior should you notify them? Okay. That's a good question. It's really important to raise your prices carefully and with a system. So I learned this lesson the very, very hard way, and I came out from it unscathed, without an issue. But what I did was I kept raising my prices on new clients. And oh, good. Jessica says that answered her question. Fabulous. I kept raising my prices on new clients, but I never went back and raised it on old clients. And before I knew it, I had some clients at $50 and some literally at $120 an hour. And I was like, uh-oh. And that was the year I got really busy. And I also, I had to have surgery and I was fine, but I got taken out of the loop, for a couple of weeks, and it was really intense. So what I did was I raised my prices on everyone, and I wrote a very careful email. And in fact, if you join VIP, that's the kind of stuff that's in the vault. So that email is in the vault. And I wrote an email, and I explaining that I was raising my prices. I sent it. Then I made a list of all my clients, and I picked the ones I didn't like very much first, and I just sent them the email to see what would happen. And I did this carefully, and not all at once, because I have to support myself. And so I saw my web guy, he sent an email out to his whole list, and it was like, yeah, I'm raising my prices. If you don't like it, oh well, so sad, too bad. And he lost a bunch of clients. A bunch of them came to me, and we worked that out, and that was fine. But so I watched him do that, and I watched how people reacted, and they didn't like it. So, because there's a feeling a little bit of holding you hostage, like there are clients that I do a lot of stuff for them, and if I just walk away, that it's like an employee quitting kind of. I'm not an employee, but you know what I mean? Like they might not even know how to do all the things that I do for them. So they're going to feel a little nervous, and maybe they're worried about money or whatever. So that's why you have to be careful. So, all right. So the first thing I did was I sent the email that I literally wrote and had edited by an editor, because writing is not necessarily my strongest suit. And it was important that it be clear. And I didn't go into a lot of preamble. I said, I'm changing the way that I'm doing business or something like that, and it impacts you. So I wanted to let you know. I didn't do a lot of hi, how's it going? No justification, not a lot of blah blah. Effective this time, I'm raising my rates, and this is how it'll impact you. Now, what I did was I told them. This was in 2016, so I'm trying to remember. I told them in November that they were going up January 1st. I also did a couple more things. The people who, whatever rate they were at, I said, you can buy as many debit cards as you want at that rate. I don't care how many you buy, because they're eventually going to get to the higher rate or not. And I'm not doing myself a disservice, because it's staying the same or it's getting better, but it's not getting worse, right? So they were able to buy the debit cards. And then the case of Robin, I was in the middle of that big project with her. So what I said to her was, okay, because I was raising my rates literally $30 an hour for her, which is a lot for a solo, right? And so what I said was, okay, here's the deal. My rates are going up January 1st. For you, I'm going to keep my rates the same until the project is finished, or April 1st, whichever comes sooner. She was so happy. We finished the project. The rates went up. That was 2016. She'd already been a client for years. She's still a client. I'm going to do a project for her next Thursday. So just think about it, from both sides. So give them enough time. And then what I did with the clients who I wanted to keep because I liked them, I got them on the phone. And most of them said, I kind of knew what you were going to talk about, because I don't usually set a meeting with my clients. They set the meetings with me. So again, I was counseled very wisely to get on the phone, a little bit of, hey, how's it going? Thanks for taking the call. And then I got right into it. And I said, I'm making a change to my business that impacts you, and I want you to know about it. And I had a script that was based off of, off of the email, and not a script because I wanted it to be robotic. I wanted it to be natural. And so that's why I thought about it ahead of time, and I practiced it. And I went off script. It wasn't like, oh, I missed a word, and I didn't get flustered if I did miss a word. But I had like bullet points, and I wrote them out because I wanted to be more comfortable. And most of the people said to me, go get them. You're worth every penny. This is great. And then what I did was I followed up with the email. I said, okay, I'm just going to send you an email because we talked about a lot of details. And I sent it to them, so they had it all in writing. And then that's what I did. And a bunch of them bought debit cards. And at the end of the year, and I promised myself I wouldn't get grumpy about it because I offered it, and I just wanted to be fair, and I wanted to be respectful of them. And the truth is they've been supporting me financially by me providing work for 6 years at that point. I didn't feel indebted to them, like they owed me something, but I wanted to be respectful. So that's how I did it. And I lost some people. And some of that, losing some of them was good because I didn't love them. And 2 people I lost, they came back because they looked for someone who could do what I did with the amount, without hassle for them, with the amount of money. And they thought it would be better to get someone for half the price. And what they realized is it took them 3 times as long, and I was a better deal. So they came back, and I worked with them till they both retired. So that was a lot, but just be careful when you do it and start slow because your people don't know each other. and there might be someone who you want to keep at a lower rate for right now, or, like the last person I raised the price on was someone who was buying 10 hours a week, because and at the time she was at $60 an hour, and that $2,400 every month, that's how I paid my rent and, made sure the lights stayed on and the groceries. And so I wasn't willing to change that until the rest of my business got stronger. And then I did. Thanks for the question. That's awesome. Okay. Does having a small list of services limit the number of clients? Does having a small list of services limit the number of clients? No, I don't think so. I don't think it limits it. For the most part, even though my services page has, I don't know, 80 or 100 or 75 things on it, I kind of stay in the same lane most of the time, because my clients are referrals. So the things that I do, oh, you guys, thank you. So I'm glad, Jessica, that worked, and Dee, that's great. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so happy to help you. Oh, look at that baby. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy to help you guys. So yeah, keep the questions coming. Sorry, just lost my train of thought. Hold on. All right, what was I talking about, guys? I just got, oh, right here, sorry. Hello. Meet the real me. Okay. Angie just joined us. That's great. Welcome, Angie. Okay, so what I was saying, I stay kind of in the same lane. I do a lot of email newsletters, and I like it because there's deadlines, but there's wiggle room, so I'm not on the spot in that red hot minute. And then I put the newsletters on their websites. I put them on LinkedIn. I put them on social media. I do website updates. I have a bunch of clients that are coaches, and every time they change their prices, which seems to be a lot, I update their prices. I do PowerPoint presentations. I have one client who was my biggest client for a long time, and she was training in big organizations. And so what I did was, a lot of what I do is low tech. I do high tech stuff, but it kind of comes and goes. Once I've been with a client for a while, I've sort of high teched them out. They're all set up. And so now it's a matter of, so they might come in very, with a lot of stuff to do, but then as I get them all handled, it's just maintenance stuff, like the newsletters and the website updates and changing prices. But what I did for Martha was, she had a bajillion handouts. And what I did was I put her logo on them. I put the copyright. I organized, how if you've ever had a job and you've taken corporate training, you used to get a notebook. And in the notebook, there's the tabs and, all the papers. And so I would organize those for her and then find a Kinko's or whatever in Texas, wherever she was going to train, and coordinate them delivering it to the client. But then, and so she still has, PowerPoints that she needs to have changed. She had one just this week, in fact. So even though I can do a bunch of stuff, like I've only had one person ask for that quiz that I mentioned. I've never done it again. But I'd like to have my services page be really full, because all of this doesn't happen. Actually, what clients will say to me, which is really a lot of fun, it'll be our first session together, and they'll say, I printed out your services page, and I think I need almost everything on there. So let's just start at the top. And, I have to laugh to myself and say, okay, game on, let's go. And we just check ourselves. What I say to them then is, okay, that's great. So tell me about what you're tolerating. What are the things that are driving you crazy? Where are mistakes being made? Let's solve for that first. And that's where we start. And then it grows from there. So, all right. So Angie, welcome. I'm glad you made it. And this is a great question. In fact, I'm about halfway through with a newsletter on this topic. So I'm going to make this question a little bit bigger, and I'm going to make the question, who pays for software? All right. And so you guys are going to get a sneak peek, and maybe you're going to help me think through this newsletter, because I'm not done with it yet. So yes, my clients have their own accounts. So first, let's talk about the accounts that I have for my business, and then we'll talk about the client accounts, okay? So the first accounts that I have are, I have my own email. I also have email for clients. They want me to have Belinda@theircompany.com. They pay for that. Of course, I pay for my Rocket Girl Solutions email. but they pay for that extra email. I have MailChimp because I send newsletters to you guys every Monday morning. I pay for that. However, the newsletters that I do for the 5 people I'm working on this week, those are their accounts. And the reason is many. One is it's not my responsibility to pay for their services. And I don't want to mix everybody up. I think that could be a place where mistakes could get made. If you have different lists in one MailChimp account, plus it starts to get really expensive. I have 25 clients maybe who do newsletters, and combined, I don't know how many contacts that is, but it's a lot. And it would probably be really expensive. So I do keep it separate. And the way that I handle that, let's say a new client comes to me and they want to do a newsletter and they don't have an account, I'll just say, okay, well, one of the first things we need to do is decide which service you'd like to use, either Constant Contact, MailChimp, or whatever, and then we'll just get your account set up. So you can set it up, or you can just give me your credit card and I'll take care of that for you. And that's how we do that. Yeah, same with Buffer, Hootsuite. The things that I pay for Adobe Acrobat because I need it. It's not expensive, but it's some number every month, like $14 or something. But I use it for my own work. I use it for the VA connection, and I kind of consider that a service for clients that I have that. I pay for Photoshop. I've had Photoshop forever. I am more comfortable with that. I use Canva too, but honestly, I didn't know about Canva until the last couple of years. So I have Photoshop, and my daughter uses it, so that works. I pay for my email. I pay for my Office suite. I think it's important, even if you're a Mac user, to have Microsoft Office, unless you're living in an entirely Mac universe, because most of my clients, it's a totally mixed bag and they all have Office. And so that's important. I have Pages and Keynote and all that too. And if I have a Mac-centric client, I can do the conversion on my Mac and then I bring it over to my PC where I work. The other things that I pay for, my project management software. However, I have clients who have their own project management software and I'm a user on their account, so they pay for that. I have had clients when we've done project management, this has only happened twice in 10 years, but they wanted to see the project plan. And since I had the software and I was doing the project anyway, I invited them as a user and just for that one project, and they could see it. And then after the project was over, sorry, I was just looking at a comment. As soon as the project was over, I removed them as a user. But with the software that I have, I get 5 user accounts. If I needed to incur an expense, unless it was if I was doing a website and it was going to be a finite amount of time, I might absorb that cost. But it's really on a case-by-case basis. I'm trying to think of other software that I have. I'm just looking at my desktop, like Evernote, LastPass, Photoshop, all that stuff. It's what I need to run my business. And so I just have that for my clients. Okay. I'd like to exclusively do newsletters, blogs, and logos. You can do that. You can totally do that. You might want to add in posting it to social media, because you don't have to do a huge social media plan. But for example, like Sue Danson, I'm waiting to hear from. I just sent her a test and she's going to approve the newsletter. I always have the newsletters approved by the client before I send them. It just is a good idea. I'm not a great proofreader, and I think newsletters are a big deal because, it's like you're sending an email to everyone you know, and you don't want to misspell something. And in fact, a newsletter that was edited came back. I put it in MailChimp, I read it, and I sent it out a test, and there were 6 things that my client had missed originally. And some of them were misspellings or double words because I put the newsletter into the software, but they're the ones that are reading it and making sure that it makes sense and, deciding what's bold and what's not and all that kind of stuff. So my point is that you might want to just also say, I'll put that as an article on LinkedIn, or when you put it on their website, you can drop the link into Facebook for them, or just send them the link. I have one client, I put it on her website, as a blog post, and then I send her the link, and then she does her own social media. So you can definitely do that. Logos, that's all great. And what you might do too is, if you look at the newsletter, well, like the VA Buzz, if you get that, there's a banner at the top. oops, I have to wrap this up because I have client call in just a minute. I didn't realize what time it was because I was having so much fun. Okay, so you might want to create the banners as well. Okay, so let me just jump over here. Okay, so Elizabeth wants to do exclusively proofreading or more of it. Yeah, you totally can. And you know what? Let everybody know that you do that, because like for me, I have an editor that I use, but if she doesn't want to do it, you're my girl, because I need that. And my clients don't need it a ton, but when they do, I need someone trustworthy. So let everybody know. And while you might not be able to do that exclusively, that can be a big chunk of what you do. Okay, so you guys, I need to sign off. This was awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to start doing this every week, and I'm going to figure out a way for you to submit your questions ahead of time so that I can think about them and be prepared. And I love the in-the-moment questions as well. So thank you so much. Have a great week, and I'll see you in the Facebook group. All right, and continue to add comments if you'd like, and I'll circle back around and check them out. All right, bye guys.